Okay, we're recording. Matt, happy to have you.
My pleasure. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Producer got caught in traffic. The traffic is terrible, but just like the state of this country and just like where the city is at, you got to make do with what you have, and you have to maximize the resources at your disposal.
There you go. We roll on.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you feel as though the Travis County GOP is maximizing the resources at their disposal?
Well, I mean, we do more with less than almost any county party, and I mean that relative to the size of the county versus the resources that we have. I got elected in 2017, maybe 3 months after Trump won the first time, and our budget the year before I got there was $40,000. By the second year I was there, the budget was $400,000. We have a great team. We have a lot of really generous people. We have great precinct chairs. We have great committee chairs. We work hard, but this is a county that you probably need to have like a couple $1 million budget every 2 years to really have the resources you need to get a message out there, to recruit candidates, to support candidate campaigns, to build the party, to grow your lists, to all the things you need to do. So, we fight the battle every single day. We do that at the countywide level. We do that at the state level. We do that at the local level. I had 3 goals when I started: win elections, grow the party, and advance conservatism. And those are the 3 things we do every single day at Travis County GOP.
Okay. Do you think that Austin is as woke as our governing body is?
No. I think the governing body at the local level is far more woke than the electorate is.
Well, I'm not talking about the electorate in Texas. I'm talking about like the people. Do you think that the governing body in Austin is representative of the people who live in Austin? Yet there is a governing body that is nauseatingly woke.
Yeah.
And the people who live here are refreshingly based, for lack of a better word. That there's a huge disconnect. I feel as though this kind of, as the leader of the Travis County GOP's responsibility is to get candidates to run against these people and meaningfully oppose these insane policies and ideas. I feel as though there's some sort of accountability.
Yeah, look, it's a challenging county, right? So a Republican has only ever won a countywide race in Travis County twice in the history of the county. The most recent example was Terry Keel winning sheriff in the year 2000, the year George W. Bush ran for president. Not one Republican has won a countywide race since then.
Okay.
That predates me as chair.
Yes.
And then it's since then. Only one other time, and it's like 100 years ago. We haven't even been able to find the evidence of the other race. If you look at the electoral performance of, let's just talk about Trump and Travis County. Look, there are counties where he overperforms and there's counties where he underperforms. Travis County is a county where he underperforms. In 2016, he got 26% of the vote in Travis County. In 2020, he got 27%. I think he'll get 30, 32, maybe 34% this time. And we've had Republicans get 40, 42, 45% in this county. Now, generally, it's a statewide office holder running against a very weak Democrat. Greg Abbott, Rick Perry, Kay Bailey Hutchison, John Cornyn, even Ted Cruz has been at 40% or above. So you can be higher, but you have to have a financial advantage to be able to do that.
Or a creative advantage or a willingness to go outside the box.
100%. I'm in favor of creativity. What's hard, we have this challenge at the countywide level here. Because it's so hard to win, it's a disincentive for really good, committed people to run, right? And so one of the toughest things I have to do every 2 years is recruit candidates to run. We recruited someone to run for sheriff. We recruited someone to run for tax assessor collector. We recruited someone to run for county attorney. They all backed out the last day. And so we ended up not having candidates in those offices. And that's obviously very, very, very disappointing. But
where do you find these people? Where do you do your recruiting at?
Well, my goodness. We start by utilizing our precinct chairs. We have over 100 precinct chairs who represent the entire county.
One more question. Sorry.
Go ahead.
What is the average age of the precinct chair?
It's gotten younger since I've been there. We don't judge people based on their age.
No, but age does play a role, right? When the precinct chairs are old enough to be my dad and possibly my grandfather, then they are going to communicate in a way that's very different from the type of person that's coming into Austin, because the people that I think a big mistake that the conservatives in Austin are making is that they're appealing to like a lot of boomers and boomer cons. And I'm not shitting on the boomers. My dad is a boomer, right? That's not what I'm doing. But the fact of the matter is the people that are moving out, boomers are the primary people that I feel are moving out as a result of the property taxes and the affordability and the crime and the perception of the crime and the homelessness and all these other factors. And so to cater a message to people that are on their way out the door just doesn't seem like a winning strategy. Whereas a lot of people that are coming in here are refugees from liberal shitholes. And a lot of them, they don't even know that we have a Soros-funded DA in Austin. They just think, oh, we're in Texas, everything is good now. And then they don't vote. And there are a lot of people out there, like, I have rap songs about Joe Biden and about Donald Trump that I play for everybody. And they usually get met very well, right? Like, they get met with thunderous applause and very generous tips and people being happy and people dancing. And my song is about Trump being great. And it's a parody, but it's, it's all that stuff. Right? And another song about Biden diddling children and people are dancing to the song who don't look like me or you. And so I just feel as though there's a lot of people who live in Austin that there's a huge voting block that you could potentially reach that is not being reached.
Yeah, I think a couple of responses to that. I think, first of all, I think there's no question we want more young people involved. And we partner with the Austin Young Republicans, Williams County Young Republicans, YCTs, the Republican College Republican chapter at UT. We do events with these groups all the time. And we've gotten some of their members to join as precinct chairs. So we've done that since I've been chair, and I'm proud of that, and we need to do more of it. I will say that young people generally vote in disproportionately lower numbers. The electorate is older than the average age of people in any given area. The older you are, the more likely you are to vote, period.
Yeah.
Now, you're right. People that are moving here are young.
You were saying about being tech.
Yeah, I mean, young people are coming here. Austin's a hip, fun city that people want to come to. They come to visit, they like it, they stay, or they come back and they try to move here. A lot of that's in the tech space. It's not just that. It's graduate students. It's people in healthcare. It's people in the tourism-related industries, service industries, you name it. But as it relates to precinct chairs and candidates, one of the reasons it's hard to get young people involved is that young people are busy, right? They're trying to figure out how to pay their bills, how to get their life started, how to date.
No, I agree. And the last thing they want to do is get accosted by some crackhead who's walking around with a machete in public while they're out to dinner with their girlfriend. Or the last thing they want to do is
I've been fighting that.
Yes, I know that. But walk to the grocery store and worry about some homeless guy taking a shit on the corner of 3rd and Guadalupe. I think that people are busy. They don't want to have to worry about going to dinner and then getting their house ransacked while they're back from dinner and then the DA not prosecuting.
I would argue that Cleo and I at Save Austin Now have fought harder the last 5 years against all that insanity than almost anyone, and we're proud of that. But you're right; those concerns are still there, and so we have a Soros DA that's not enforcing the law, that's not prosecuting violent criminals. It's outrageous. He's in violation of House Bill 17.
Isn't it there like a thing to get him removed, or is that realistically going to work, or is that just kind of like noise?
We were not involved in that petition.
Okay.
We have a lot of sympathy for the person who filed the petition. It's absolutely clear she was assaulted by her perpetrator. She says that she was raped as well. I have no reason to doubt that.
Yeah.
The challenge with her petition is that an individual case does not meet the threshold for removal. You have to prove that someone is ignoring categories of crime. She did put two things in there. I think one had to do with marijuana, the other had to do with the other category was. It's a high burden to make that case. We believe the case can be made, and we'll be working on that in the days, weeks, and months to come. And we'll be working with the legislature. Look, the legislature recognizes that we have the worst DA in our state happens to be in the county where the capital city is. And it is directly affecting, I know you know this, Alex, because you're out there among the people more than almost anybody.
Yeah, I'm on my work all the time. I see everything, yeah.
It's affecting every sector of this city, every neighborhood, every park, every demographic. It's not just a downtown problem. It's not just an East Austin problem. It's everywhere. And when you don't prosecute violent criminals, number one, you make Austin a magnet for more violent criminals. Number two, you have increases in habitual offenders because they're not paying the price for committing crimes. Number three, you disincentivize police officers from going out and making arrests and collecting evidence and putting themselves at risk because they know the DA is not going to prosecute. I mean, it's a toxic cocktail that has ruined public safety in our city.
Well, and the last thing is you disincentivize people who are going to be high earners that will contribute to the economy from wanting to come here,
sure,
settle and contribute and build businesses and help people like myself.
No doubt.
So there is a cocktail of these factors. Yet a lot of young people, if you were to ask them who the DA was, while sharing all your concerns, do not know who the district attorney is. Did you see the video I made a couple months ago where I was going up to people and saying, hey, you know, DA, that our DA let an actual pedophile out of jail on a PR bond? Right, he was, you know, jerking off in front of like a 9-year-old kid, chased a woman down, the woman broke her leg in like 4 places, I believe. Her name's like Lynn Isaac. That's what I think. Maybe the stories are crossed, but the fact that they're crossed means that there's so many stories that it's easy to cross them.
Yes.
Right. I was telling this to people, and it was a pretty diverse group of people that I was speaking to, and they were like, "What the fuck?" They had no idea. Right. And if this many people, and if it was that easy to come up with a video on a Sunday, imagine.
Yeah.
How much you could accomplish with the right ground game, or like, why is there not a billboard of Jose Garza's transgressions up in the middle of 6th Street?
Yeah. So you raise a really good point. I mean, I actually think the problem with local government in Austin is not that the voters are too far to the left. It's that they don't understand, and they don't know who these people are. And they don't know the decisions they're making and how they're affecting people's day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
You know, Jose Garza. A lot of people in that Democratic primary believed he was the, quote, progressive, and thought because he had glasses on his logo, that he must be a thoughtful, industrious, intelligent person.
Yes.
He still to this day has never prosecuted one criminal trial in his entire life. He's a district attorney in Travis County.
Well, sure, but he's probably still going to win in a landslide.
Well, I was talking about the primary. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Democratic county. It's uphill. We do have an outstanding Republican candidate.
I met Daniel. I like him, but at the same time, he's not like, nobody sees him. He's not in the community. He's not out there. He's not with somebody like that. With the odds, with the way the voting electorate works in a place like Travis County, you got nothing to lose. You got to go balls to the wall. Like, you got to but I mean, you got to like.
I promise you, he's all in, and he's working hard, and he gets around the county a lot. Well, he'll do that more, but he has done that a lot.
I don't know if anybody even at the shop knows who Daniel Betts is, and nobody here is happy with the fact that we get shit stolen from here all the time. I think anybody here is happy with the DA that doesn't want to prosecute violent criminals. Like, nobody here is down with that, even if like a lot of them probably voted Democrat and have left-leaning viewpoints. Whatever, like, that's fine, but they don't know who Daniel Betts is. You know, when we were at when the anti-Israel protests were happening, you know, this guy wasn't talking to any of the protesters. He didn't go there and try to talk to the protesters and say that he's running. Like, he didn't go out into the community and do anything to like make himself known at these events. He's not filming himself. Like, you don't see like. Yeah,
he's probably not as much into the sort of guerrilla type tactics you're describing, which can be very effective.
Well, you need to be in a place like Austin. That's the only way to win, is to have do that.
Let's be fair. I don't know everything he's done, everything he hasn't done. I know him well. I recruited him into this race. He's a friend of mine.
I like him. I'm not trying to talk shit about him, but
he's a bright lawyer. He's committed. He totally understands what has to happen in the DA's office, and he'd be a very effective DA on day one.
I agree with that.
But you're right. Look, it requires a real energetic, relentless effort here locally. Now, look, he's going to get a third or a fourth of the Democratic vote that's going to vote against Garza. I promise you. He's going to be well over 40%. I think he'll be our highest vote getter in Travis County. I do believe that.
I don't know.
I'll be surprised if he doesn't. Now, I will say he needs resources to run a real campaign.
I'll place a wager on you. I'll place a friendly $50 wager that he goes under 45%.
Well, I said over 40, so I don't know that he'll be above 45. It's going to depend on how much money he'll raise.
We could do a handicap.
Tell you what. We'll keep thinking on what the wager should be, and we can make it on Twitter. But what I would say is, look, what I will say is, I do think he'll be the highest vote getter in our county. But the more resources he has, the more sophisticated campaign he can run, the more outreach he can do, the more messaging he can do. And he's got to do that. He knows that. He's working hard. He's already raised 50 or 60 grand, which is not enough, but it is a good start.
Maybe he could use some of that money to help me make more videos to highlight who Garza is downtown.
We would love that. We'll love to connect you. You got to get him on this podcast.
I have got him on.
Oh, have you? Okay, I missed that. Okay.
I had him on like in March or April. I'm like,
okay, good.
You know, why don't you use some of those resources to help me film more? I can have a field day with this guy, and I have no problems going up and talking to these people and doing it in a way that's, you know, gets the point across, but is also non-threatening.
Yeah. But let's go back to the thing we were making before. And look, I think BettsForDAs.com's his website. Betts, BETTS4FORDA.com's his website. Check him out. Support him if you can. But let's go back, because I think this is actually the most critical thing in our city. The reason we keep getting mediocre, left-wing, radical people serving in local government, with only a couple exceptions, is that I don't think that voters here understand the decisions those people are making and how it's affecting their life. I think people are not paying attention. I think most of them don't even know who their city council member is, let alone what the city council is actually doing to them. And you know, they continue to vote in the Austin Chronicle endorsed, Travis County Democratic Party endorsed left-wing candidate who's committed to the far-left radical agenda, not someone who's focused on quality of life, public safety, homelessness, affordability, transportation, transparency, the issues that we need people focused on. Now look, Mackenzie Kelly is an exception.
Mackenzie Kelly also was in a very was in the most
she's in the most
conservative
Republican
district.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
and Mackenzie Kelly is the easiest job. I like Mackenzie.
She does not have an easy job. I cannot agree with that.
I can tell you why. Can I tell you why?
She's 10 versus 1.
Yeah, Debbie's all she has to do is vote and go to the cocktail party.
No. First of all, she doesn't go to cocktail parties. But second of all, no. She doesn't get anything done if she loses every vote 10-1. Okay, first of all, she can't even get her issue brought up and put on the agenda, which means it can be discussed at a meeting unless she has 3 co-sponsors, making 4 total. She has to work with her colleagues to get things that she can get done. She just got a new public safety facility up in North Austin. She's done so much. She's reinstated the automated license plate reader effort in a very narrow way, which is helping us catch people who are in active silver alert and child kidnapping situations. I mean, you can go through a long list of things.
Okay,
she's vice chair of the public safety committee. She fights for police every single day and fire and EMS, which is why she's going to be endorsed by all 3 of those first responder
that's
unions.
That's fair.
Trust me, man. I've been now doing this for 5 years. There was a 2-year period there where she wasn't there. We had no one on the council.
Well, I remember you made there was a lot of drama that got involved, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I know about this shit. This is crazy."
Well, I had a little difficulty in what year is that? 2021 or 2022 for a month, where there was a misunderstanding. We're well past that now.
Well, that's good.
Working very, very closely together on her reelection. I hosted an event for her about Coney's Country Club where she launched her campaign, where she raised $30,000. I had a fundraiser in my home with my wife Amy a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we're working very, very, very closely together. She is a real future leader for our city and for this area. And we need public safety advocates. As I know you agree with this, Alex. We need effective, courageous, relentless public safety advocates.
Well, you need
in elected office.
Okay, you need that, but you also need to do that while conveying that message on a large scale to people who view the cops as just the enforcement arm of the state, which in many cases they are the enforcement arm of the state. But they also have to be, you have to combine being in the enforcement arm of the state apparatus with actually protecting regular people who function and serve the state, for lack of a better word. And also, you can also be pro law enforcement while calling out the excesses of what police officers do, such as how they treated the protesters in Canada, the truckers in Canada 2 years ago. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So, but like, Nobody, I don't think anybody on Austin Twitter that was on conservative Austin Twitter really called out the police, the Canadian police.
I did.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
I never saw that.
I promise you I did.
Did you?
I promise you I did. And I've tweeted about Pierre Poilievre, hopefully the next Prime Minister of Canada.
Hopefully, right.
Trudeau in Canada is the most ridiculous dictator in the modern world history. What he's done up there, it's absolutely outrageous. But look, let's come back to local.
But that does play a role. But that does make a difference, right? Because like, you got to be able to balance being pro public safety without bootlicking law enforcement.
Sure.
And there's got to be I think that's an area that could use some work.
Okay, at Save Austin now,
that could use some work. That's all I'm saying.
We've never taken the view that everything every police officer does is always right. We've never done that. If a police officer violates the law, we believe that officer needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because policing is based on the bonds of trust with the community. When that gets violated, it makes everyone less safe. It makes the person being approached by a police officer more willing to confront that police officer, which makes that police officer more willing to overreact, right? And it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So we have absolutely we have no interest in defending policy, behavior that violates police policies or behavior that is illegal, period. Now, that said, Jose Garza has not convicted one police officer of anything, period. Of the 26 or 27 he indicted, he has now dropped charges on 21 or 22 of them. And I made a prediction at the beginning, a year and a half ago, that he would not convict even one of them, not one of 26 or 27. He set out as a goal, as a policy, that he was going to go after police officers, Alex. His number 2 person, Trudy Strasburger, who came from New York to be his number 2 in his office, put a job announcement on left-wing message boards saying, "Come to Austin and help us prosecute police officers." Now, if you want to say you want to prosecute police officers violating the law, or bad cops, or dirty cops, that would be one thing. But to say you want to prosecute police officers makes clear
it's not a good look.
It's worse than a good look. Not being a good look, it's prejudicial. It's
Well, it's a
almost certainly
safety
illegal.
hazard. It's dangerous.
It's a safety hazard. And look, all of this combines. We had 1,800 police officers in 2020 when they defunded the police. We now have around 1,400 available officers, and we'll be at 1,300 available officers by the end of the year.
My thing is that people don't understand. What people do not understand is that defunding local law enforcement and demoralizing local law enforcement actually creates more authoritarianism. Because
And more
yes, and more crime leads to more authoritarianism, and you have to create digital surveillance.
Well, this is one of the reasons that Soros is doing this.
Yes.
Soros is doing this because he wants a national police force that can enforce anti-gun laws and other laws nationally on the states, because he knows that there's 20 or 22 red states that are never going to be on board with a hard left agenda, right? So those attorney generals sue, and those states resist, some of those cities resist, and those sheriffs resist, et cetera, et cetera. Soros knows, and the hard left know, that the things have to get so bad in our cities that only a national police force could possibly be a solution. That's really what I think they're doing in the cities.
Or what you do is you flood the border with illegal immigrants, and nobody here wants to fight our foreign wars anymore, obviously, because they don't really do anything to protect America, and all they do is just put us more into debt and create more surveillance. And nobody in America wants to fight these foreign wars anymore. But you know what? Juan from Venezuela will if you give him a green card. And then look at that. Let's fast forward 5 years. Now your police force becomes full of illegal immigrants from foreign countries that are super grateful to be here, that had to become refugees largely because of what we did in the past and the IMF loans that they took out, which destroyed their country. They're coming in there. There's no like allegiance to the Constitution, and they don't need, and they shouldn't have it, considering how they were brought up and everything like that. And now all of a sudden, now you got police officers that are like, oh, let me arrest you for not putting your mask on. Let me arrest you for not walking around with your government-issued ID. You are trying to spend money outside of your 15-minute jurisdiction. Here's your fine, right? And this does sound a little Alex Jonesy, but I could just see this feels like it's a direction that certain people are trying to take us in. And I just think that it's important to support local law enforcement, because when you abandon local law enforcement, the new type of law enforcement becomes that. And I think when people understand that, they're more willing to see your perspective versus chanting boomer con rhetoric like back the blue.
Yeah, look, if that
makes sense.
It does. I mean, look at the COVID lockdown stuff, which I know drove you insane.
Yeah, I hated that shit. But listen, I never complied. I'm actually really proud of myself for how I handled it. Like, I kept my sanity. I
understand that. Yeah. What I'm saying though is, those insane policies were top down from the federal government, right?
Actually, from the World Economic Forum and the UN. And
correct.
Yeah.
But in the United States, they were pushed from the federal government. You had states like Florida and Georgia and Texas that reopened earlier than anyone else, where freedom was preserved. It wasn't everything we wanted it to be, but it was far better than it was in Massachusetts and Illinois,
New York
and California and Washington and insane places. So if you want to enforce an insane hard left radical policy, it's much easier to do that through the national government than to do it through 50 independent individual states, right? And so I do think that's a deliberate strategy. Now, to your point on the border, look, if you don't agree that Biden wanted illegal immigrants to enter the country by the millions, that it was intentional, that it was deliberate, that he issued something like 24 executive orders, that he had a 100-day policy of first 100 days of not enforcing the law, that he reinstated catch and release, he got rid of return to Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. He not only didn't continue building the wall, he sold the parts that we had down there, all the material we had, he sold it.
For like pennies on the dollar, yeah.
Pennies on the dollar to get rid of it, make it impossible for Trump or anyone else to do it again. If you don't believe that was a deliberate strategy to change the makeup of our country and to bring in people who eventually will vote, whether that's in local elections now or national elections this November.
I don't think it's happening now. I think Trump kind of has this. I think it's just become, it's too obvious if Trump loses with how things are going, where we're at.
Well, Trump is going to need a landslide. There's no doubt about that.
I think it's going to be. I don't see how it's not. Based on my videos and based on what I see downtown,
4 months is a long time, but yeah.
People, Republicans do have a very fun way of snatching defeat from victory.
We've done it a time.
They're very good at losing.
We've done it a time or two. Right now, I think Trump's in good shape.
We should have had DeSantis though, but I think we both agreed on that.
The Democrats are a mess right now. They don't know whether they want Biden to be the nominee or not. This thing could change in the next 24, 48, 72 hours. We have the Republican convention coming up, then the Olympics, and the Democratic convention. Look, most normal people, Alex, you got to remember, you and I are not normal, right? Most normal people don't start paying attention to presidential elections till Labor Day. They're in summer. Their kids are in camps. They're trying to figure stuff out. They're with their families. They're traveling. Whatever they're doing. So the race doesn't really set until Labor Day. And that's when, of course, massive amounts of money are being spent when messages are being delivered. So, look, right now I think Trump has the wind at his back, but there's no guarantee. I think it's going to be a close election. I actually do believe that.
You think so?
I do. Look, and I know right now it feels like a landslide's possible, and I think it is possible. The map's expanding. They're looking at New Jersey,
if you look
New
at
York,
the number of registered Republicans versus Democrats is way higher.
It's moving. Everything's
it's way
been moving
higher.
in the Republican direction of late. No question.
Also, I think a lot more people are waking up to the fact that the Democrats are becoming the party of mass surveillance. Compared to the Republicans are not the party of freedom and liberty as much as they like to say, but they are a lot more freedom oriented than the party of mass surveillance. And I don't know if you were paying attention, but there's a new crypto bill that got, and I was actually listening to the committee hearing where they're trying to get the CFTC to regulate all crypto and Bitcoin exchanges.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
Well, look, I think I start by saying Trump has moved in the direction of being in favor of crypto.
And Bitcoin, which is good.
Really smart.
It's making me actually, because at first I was like, after DeSantis, I'm like, I'm just going to vote for Kennedy. I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. Now I'm kind of like, all right, maybe my vote's now up for grabs.
Crypto has a number of advantages. First of all, you're having institutions now invest in it, so it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's only going to grow over time. That doesn't mean all of them are going to grow, but the big ones are almost surely going to grow. Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc.
Yes.
But the value of crypto is that it is a hedge against big government, against debt, against a weak dollar, against regulation, right? It's a hedge against all those things. It's a way to sort of control your own future in your own life.
Depending on how you use it.
Sure.
Not if you just have all your money on Coinbase, or if the CFTC decides to regulate all the Bitcoin exchanges where they want you to KYC everything in order to be able to move your funds.
Yeah.
Or actually, you can still move your funds if you run your own node and do all that stuff, right? They can't stop. They can't stop you from doing that.
There's a risk if all your money's at Coinbase, no question.
Yeah, there is. You can easily circumvent a lot of that stuff, but what this will do is it'll stop newer companies. It'll stop innovation, for actual Bitcoin companies, and this could stifle innovation in terms of how we go about artificial intelligence. It could stifle innovation with how we go about video editing. It could stifle innovation about how we go about health. It could stifle a lot of innovation about how we can actually improve our culture and our society if everything has to be ultra KYC'd. Because it makes it harder for the companies, right? And it's also dangerous for consumers because when you have to KYC everything, you're more and a hack, let's say there's a data breach or a hack occurs and all of a sudden now people know how much money you have and what you have. That actually hurts the consumer a lot more than it will help the consumer. And if you own your own keys and you know how to, manage your funds with something like Bitcoin, these regulations are useless because this is something that you can pretty much regulate yourself on. And then these other cryptocurrencies are just affinity scams tied to Bitcoin, which just lump Bitcoin in as being a scam when it's not. It's a way to separate money from state and preserve people's freedom and purchasing power and the rate of financial repression and debasement.
Yeah, totally. Look, crypto's playing a meaningful role. There's no doubt. And
Bitcoin.
Now, Bitcoin in particular, yeah. But what I would say is that I do think that having no regulations on crypto at all is probably not the right policy. Now, what does that regulatory regime need to look like? I'm not an expert in it. I haven't studied it that closely. I think anything that Congress can do on a bipartisan basis in that regard, particularly if they do it with crypto, the crypto industry as a partner, some rules for the road.
No.
But we'll see.
I'll tell you
why. You think it should be totally unregulated?
No, not necessarily. I think that if they try to rush something right now...
I'm not saying we're rushing something.
No, but
they need to get it right.
But they are really trying to push... They're trying to jam this thing down.
Yeah.
From the hearing, it seems like that's what they're trying to do. This type of law was floated right before SBF went to jail, and it's the same type of parameters.
Yeah.
So that's already...
What do you do about SBF? I mean, that's a great example of where regulation would have been a good thing. I mean, a lot of people lost a lot of money.
No, it's education is a good thing, and not buying high yield shit coins and falling for pump and dump affinity scams. If you just had Bitcoin and held your own keys and didn't give up your seed phrase to your hardware wallet, this would not be a problem. You know how I was affected by SBF? Do you want to know how SBF affected me?
Tell me.
the value of what I owned went down temporarily, and I bought more Bitcoin at a cheaper price.
Yeah.
That's all that happened.
Brought down your average price. Yeah.
Yes, that's all that it did.
Yeah.
It allowed me to accumulate more Bitcoin on sale for a very long time, and it's helped me out a lot, and I'm very thankful for it. Okay? That's all it's done. If people hold their own keys and understand how that stuff works, and you start, approving banks like Custodia, where they were going to actually have their reserves 1-to-1, which the Fed just deliberately didn't do.
Can't handle.
And then you want to talk about regulation. It makes me feel like you don't actually care about regulation.
Me?
No, in general, like these governing bodies. I think that's a fair assumption to make.
Yeah.
Now with the regulatory stuff, I think like another concern too is that the people that are spearheading it are Coinbase, Ripple, Kraken, and
the big guys.
Yeah, the big guys, Gemini and all that, right? And so all this is going to do is just consolidate wealth in the hands of a very small group of
Which
of
we don't
people,
want. That's the
which is
whole
the
point
same
of
thing as
crypto.
is literally just recreating the financial system. And
Correct.
Sure, if you own stock in Coinbase, yeah, your net worth will improve temporarily, but this is not why you get involved and do this stuff.
Right.
So that's the concern. And if the CFTC starts controlling trading for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has a really good day, here's some good news, and they just halt they try to halt the trading of.
No, that's a huge problem.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I think that as a GOP chair, it would be pretty cool if you were to come out against this, because maybe it could get more younger people to get on board with Travis County politics.
Yeah, let me look into the bill. I will.
Okay,
I promise I'll look into it.
Put it on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's my take, and maybe they have Bitcoin meetups every first Thursday.
I've been to a
month.
couple. Parker Lewis hosts them. I've been to a couple of those.
I know Parker Lewis, great guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hopefully have him on the first week of next month.
He should. He's great.
He's very smart. I'm reading his book gradually, then suddenly I'm like 2/3 done.
Yeah. It's a great book.
Yeah. So good. I'm glad you're on page with that. I'm glad you're on board with that.
Yeah, man.
I think that appealing to Bitcoiners and promoting sound money and promoting improvements is how you get people to change how they vote, because a lot of conservatives are reactionary. When I go to city council meetings and I see some of these boomer cons speak, I want to just put my head in my hands and almost throw up a little bit. I'm like, dude, you guys are you're losing it for us. Like, you don't know you don't know what you're doing. It's insane. Like, quoting the Bible and religious fundamentalism is not going to work in a place where younger people are moving to. But hey, man,
Look,
making fun of the people that are issuing mask mandates and having drag queens read to children, and the fact that the anti-Israel protesters who pretty much don't like Jews and are supporting Hamas are literally advocating for the opposite of what they claim to represent is easy fodder.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing in the world to make fun of.
Yes. Queers for Palestine is one of the most ridiculous phrases in the history of the English language.
Gays for Gaza.
Yes.
Homos for Hamas.
Homos for Hamas. Yeah, I mean, what those regimes and those terrorist groups do to homosexuals over there is unspeakable.
Insane.
It's unspeakable.
So they throw the best rooftop parties. You heard that one,
Throwing
right?
people off.
Yeah, they throw the best rooftop parties for people like me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a deadly serious subject, obviously.
Yes, obviously.
But yeah, I mean, look, I can't answer some older conservatives kind of old ways of communicating. I can't speak to that except to say you're right. We have to be thinking about the next generation, younger voters, meeting them where they are, communicating with them in an authentic way about the issues that matter to them. I try to do that. I'm 44 years old, so I'm not as young as I once was.
I'm 38, dude. I look young, but I mean, I'm getting up there.
Age is a mindset anyway, man. I in some ways I feel younger at 44 than I did when I was 35, because I think being young is really about kind of enthusiasm for life, and energy, and openness to new ideas and new experiences and new people. And I feel as good about those things as I ever have. I really do.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Austin's not as woke as people think it is, and there's a lot of people that are just waiting to be spoken to.
No doubt.
That feel like they're just not being reached.
No doubt.
And there's, as the head of this organization,
mm-hmm.
you have an opportunity to actually, you get the opportunity to create a legacy where you get to shift the vibe of Austin and stop it in its tracks from turning into full-blown clown world. And you have the opportunity for that to be your everlasting legacy. And I would just like for you to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to. I intend to. I'm not going to do this job forever. It's a volunteer job. almost no perks, no benefits to it that I can see, but I do it because I believe in the Republican Party. I believe in conservative principles, and I haven't found a city run by leftist Democrats that works. I haven't found one yet. You look at the cities that are the most entrenched hard left Democratic elected officials. They're the cities that are failing the most objectively and undeniably.
To be fair, though,
LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, DC, New York.
To be fair, though, today's leftism is just repackaged neoconservative Bushism with wokeness and identity politics.
Well, that's a big thought. I don't want to necessarily think about it in those terms, because I think local politics is actually not partisan.
It shouldn't be partisan. It shouldn't,
right?
but lately
because
it's
these issues are not partisan.
Yeah.
What do we want? We want good schools. We want a good commute. We want a safe community. We want an affordable community. We all share the same goals, I think.
Absolutely.
Right. The question is, what are the policies you're going to put forward that are going to give you a chance to have those kind of outcomes? The bottom line, Alex, is, and I know you know this, quality of life in Austin has been declining. Period. It's more expensive now than it used to be. Now it's come down a little bit because of the market, but broadly speaking, it's become more expensive to live here, right? City services are delivered less efficiently and less effectively. Public safety is immeasurably worse today than it was a year ago, which was immeasurably worse than it was the year before that. Homelessness, remember the point in time count was 2,300. Now it's 6,000. Now it was never 2,300.
Well, I trust the point in time count as much as I trust the inflation numbers coming out of the CPI. So.
My point is, you look at all these major issues, right? The ways we should evaluate whether our city's getting better or worse. Our city's getting worse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. And so look, when the voters wake up, when they A, get educated about what's really happening, and B, when they start getting engaged and voting based on policies and outcomes and how their own life's been affected, that's when we're going to have a change in the city, and that's what we work towards.
No, absolutely. Maybe Daniel could start getting on some Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk, potentially, because
sure
Elon.
He'd love to do that. Maybe we'll get on with you.
I'm down with it, but seriously, Elon literally endorsed Jeremy Silverstein the day of the election. Imagine if Elon Musk had endorsed that guy a month before, a week before. You wouldn't have to worry about this thing with Jose Garza. You have the ability.
Elon's hard to get to. He's a hard guy.
No, but you're the chair of a major political party. If there's anybody,
Elon's not a Republican, but I hear you.
Okay, but he's not happy with what's happening lately.
That's
He's been tweeting. He doesn't want to live in clown world. He bought Twitter so that we can actually have free speech and have dissenting opinions out on the internet.
His purchase of Twitter is the most significant positive step for the First Amendment in my lifetime.
Yeah, but it can't stop there, and it's got to be continued. And there's people like Lex Friedman, there's people like Rogan, there's a lot of people who value Mickey Willis, the person who made Plandemic, a lot of people who have our values and actually value real liberty and real freedom and real free speech and real values that make up what makes America a great country. They're right in our backyard. And I'm sure that these people would love to connect with you if you were to reach out to them.
Oh, no doubt. Listen, I've tried with Rogan. I was actually just literally yesterday listening to a Lex Friedman, Joe Rogan podcast. I forget whose podcast it was. One was the guest and one was the host, but I was just listening to that about AI and a number of topics. Look, it's a very exciting time to be in Austin. As much as quality of life, I think, is declining, it's an exciting time to be here because of the people that are moving here, the capital that's coming, the excitement, the opportunities, the growth downtown. A lot of these things are creating tremendous excitement and opportunities, but you're right, we have to harness that potential. And we got to look, why do I do what I do? It's because I think Austin can be a world-class city in the next 20 years. It's not going to happen on the current trajectory. We've got to change direction rapidly. And that doesn't necessarily mean making Austin a Republican, which is not my goal. My goal is to not make it insane. My goal is to make it smart. Focus on policies that work, data-driven solutions, make this an affordable city to live in that's still exciting, that has good services, good public safety, that treats the homeless issue with seriousness and accountability and transparency and, yes, compassion. That is the pathway forward in our city.
No, I agree. Anyway, I know you're in a rush and you got to get to North Austin.
Yep.
And I really appreciate you doing this, and I love that we got super creative with this.
Me too, man.
I know.
Do it yourself.
Exactly. It's how you do it. If things don't work out, make it work.
That's right.
Matt, how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, people can follow me on Twitter at Matt Mackowiak, Matt, and then my last name, Mackowiak. You can email me if it's a GOP matter, chair at travisgop.com. Save Austin Now. If it's nonpartisan local, you can email me, Matt, at saveaustinnow.com as well. And check me out.
All right, Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Excited.
Thanks for all you do.
Absolutely. All right.